Welcome to the Business of Black Business, a talk show that interviews Black entrepreneurs and advocates for Black business. The topics of conversation include access to capital, best business practices, success stories, and more. Now introducing our host, Mr. Jay Reynolds.
Hello, my name is Jay Reynolds, and welcome to the Business of Black Business. I own Wolf Creek Consulting. We are a top-ranked executive staffing firm located in South Florida with offices in Birmingham, Alabama, and West Palm Beach, Florida. We primarily specialize in placing professionals in finance, accounting, IT, engineering, and construction. And again, welcome to the Business of Black Business. It's been a couple of weeks. I miss you guys, but we're back. This show is designed to help Black entrepreneurs and would-be Black owners navigate the kind of difficult chasms to basically start a business, grow a business, scale up a business, and succeed in business. It's a unique opportunity to gain access directly to very, very successful business owners, to hear how they did it, to hear what their goals were, to hear what their obstacles were, how they got ahead of the curve. We want you to understand, want you to be able to get a really good appreciation for how it all happened, to be in the room, to be able to ask, to hear questions asked that you perhaps would want to ask that professional today yourself. Before we get started, got to thank the sponsors, got to kind of pay the bills. So I really want to thank Demesman and Dover personal injury attorneys for all you guys do to support small businesses as well as HBCUs, Career Source South Florida, FAMU Medical Marijuana Education and Research Institute, AARP, and the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Thank you guys for making this possible. We certainly could not do this without you. So, okay, I'm honored and very excited to interview Dr. Delvena Thomas. Dr. Delvena, an American hero, an entrepreneur, and I'm really excited to hear her story and get you guys the opportunity to hear directly from her. Now, I will read a snippet of her bio, but you know I don't read bios. I really want you to hear from her. My real intention also always is for you to hear from her how it happened. Dr. Delvena, first of all, and most importantly, thank you for your service. Thank you very much for your service. I fly an American flag outside of my house 365 days a year. So I appreciate you and everything that you've done to make that possible for me to be safe and my family safe, to live in this country that I love.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm sorry?
I said, you're very welcome.
Delvena Thompson is a mother, American soldier, scientist, a physical advocating tirelessly professional living to strengthen individuals, families, and communities. She's an ardent champion for solid mental health and an expert in the development of evidence-based prevention and treatment strategies. Trained in medicine and psychiatry at the University of Maryland in Baltimore, Maryland, she is a board-certified psychiatry, neurology, and maintains a private practice in psychotherapy. She also deals with psychopharmacological medicine and alternative health. Dr. Delvena is a lieutenant colonel in the in the Army Reserve and a veteran who has completed 3 combat tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kuwait. Now, Dr. Delvena, I'm really excited to talk to you. You have a really incredible story, and I'm very interested in understanding what makes you you. Who are you? I mean, who are your mentors? What shaped you? Why don't you kind of walk us through some of those things?
Yes, sure. So, and Jay, I have to, my family name is Thomas, Thomas. It's not Thompson. It's the other slave name. We all have.
All right.
As much as
small detail.
As much as I struggle with that, because it's a slave name, I haven't changed it yet. It's Thomas.
Gotcha.
So, And in saying that, Dr. Delvena Thomas, I'm the youngest daughter of my parents who are descendants of Black gold of slavery. My family is from Mississippi. And I am well aware that my ancestors were slaves here in America, which is why I embrace Black quality and promoting Black businesses and other Black entrepreneurs. That is why it's so important to me, because I know well how far we've come since 1619 to overcome all of the barriers that we had to in America. So I'll just say this as an aside: people who are not African Americans, who are not Black Americans, who come from the motherland, from Africa, as well as some of our brothers and sisters who are in the Caribbean. Some of those people don't have an appreciation for all of the barriers that we had to overcome in America. So I always give a shout out to my lineage, to my family, to the people who made me, because the first mentor in my life were my mother and my father. Those were the first folks. My father was in the military as well. He was an enlisted soldier. His brother was also in the Army. My aunt, my father's sister, was also in the military. So I knew that there would come a point in time that I too would serve my country, as much of an oxymoron as it is, right? Because a lot of people say Black folks shouldn't join the military. But what I want to use this time to say is that if we're not in the military, the Black folks who are in the military don't have representation. They don't have enough support. So we have to represent in all realms of America, because we help to run this country. We built this country pretty much. I was going to say we helped build it. We built this country. So we have to be represented in all domains of our society: military, entrepreneurship, business, healthcare, education, everything you can think of, we need to be represented. So Black folks, join the military.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not really. I don't share that sentiment that Black people should not necessarily be in America. That we shouldn't defend this country, purely because of the fact that I've been to a lot of different countries, I've traveled abroad a lot, and I can tell you there is no place like home, and there's no other country like this country on the planet. So, hey, freedom ain't free.
That's
Freedom
right.
is not free. So. I don't subscribe to that whole thought process about people not being in the military. Now, I don't want my son to go out and fight a frivolous war. You know, However, I do believe that there is a duty that we cannot turn our backs to. Oh, let's shift gears a little bit. Congratulations on your selection to Legacy Magazine 2002 Business Person of the Year. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And what does that recognition mean to you? How do you feel about that?
So it means a whole lot to me when you are appreciated by your peers, the people in your society, in your community. When people appreciate you and say that they see you and they appreciate what you do. Life is about karma. Life is a circle. Everything that we do for one another, whether it's good and bad, it'll come back to you. And I don't do things for the recognition. I do them because it's on my heart. I do it because my God speaks to me. I do it because my higher power puts it in my heart to do these things. It's just a part of who I am. The mentoring, helping other folks, trying to help build up other businesses, supporting other businesses. And we should do these things and not wish for anything in return. I think a lot of times people become frustrated, and they feel like someone owes them something because they're looking for something in return when they do something. So to be recognized amongst my peers, it means a lot. It means a lot to me. I've been in South Florida since 2007. When I previously transitioned here, I worked for the Bureau of Prisons for about 8 years as a chief psychiatrist and the medical director for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And after about 8 years, I decided to go full time in my private practice. So, and to do that, I'll just say this: it's about networking. If you want to have a successful business, And I can tell the difference between my colleagues, whether they're psychiatrists or mental health professionals, who sort of close themselves in and don't network and don't hang out with other folks, don't rub elbows, don't go and support events, don't join the chambers. There's a huge difference. Yes, you can still have a business. You can still run your business. You'll still have people who will come to you because, maybe a friend or family member told them, hey, go see so-and-so. But it's a different quality of business when you're out in the community. And you're in the community in a different role other than your primary occupational role. And
Not
so
not
that's
only that, people need to see you. People need to see you.
yeah,
People need to get to the point in time when they not only see you as the let's call it the successful person, but as the real person that's integrated into the community, that's giving back stuff to the community on a continuous basis. And you can't do that if you're in a silo, you know?
right. Yeah. And it's about teamwork and effort. Societies function well when people work well together. That's why when folks talk about raising children, you need a village to raise a child,
Hmm.
because it really does require all of us. And I think people who try to do things solo dolo on their own, they eventually learn that you can't live life by yourself. And unfortunately, some of these people don't learn until they're in their 60s and 70s, and they wake up and realize they have no one sharing their home with them, no one sharing their bed with them, no one sharing their successes and the failures that they've had. They have no one to talk to, and they feel alone. And that's a scary feeling to have, to die alone.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly don't wish that on anybody, and it happens to us far too often in our community. But I want to just go back to the accolade that you got. I can tell you that one of the things that you said that impressed me most is that you do the things that you do not necessarily to get that accolade. It's the fact of the hard work and the dedication and the commitment to the community is the reason why you were honored in such a way. And quite frankly, I'm feeling pretty stoked as well in that my company was nominated as the Black Business of the Year. We it wasn't one of those things where it's something that I wanted or needed or aspired to. It's one of those things where somebody recognized you for the hard work. And so I appreciate
Nice.
Legacy Magazine and Victor and Aaliyah and everybody
Yeah.
associated with Legacy Magazine for that amazing honor for my business.
Yes,
Now,
congratulations.
thank you very much, and same to you. Now, you're a fairly dynamic woman. You're a soldier, you're a physician, you're a business owner, you're a media mogul. Why did you? How do you have time to do all that stuff?
Because I don't have a personal life. So no, seriously, so in life you have to pick and choose. I was listening
Sure.
to this book on Audibles. That's one of my things I like to do when I'm driving, is listen to a very good book on Audibles, just to relearn some things, learn some new things. And the book is called Relentless.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you know the book or not,
I
but
don't, but I just made a mental note.
yes, you got to listen to it or read it. The book is written by Michael Jordan's former trainer. Michael Jordan's former trainer was not only educated in physiology and sports medicine, but he was also a mental health counselor. And he played basketball as well in college. He did not go on to play in the NBA because he kept getting these reoccurring injuries. But there's a part in the book when he says that you can be a superstar at one thing, right? It's really only one thing. And it makes sense because we know that if we look at career, family, and personal life, if we just take those three domains, you can't be a superstar at all three of those things, because in order to be a superstar, you have to give and give and give of your time and of your effort. And unfortunately, our emotions and who we are as a person is like a bank account. You only have so much money in that
Yeah,
account. And
absolutely.
when you keep pulling from it, you can over withdraw. So you can be a superstar in certain realms, and you might be a superstar with your family at a certain point in your life. You may be a superstar on your job at a certain point in your life. But to be a superstar in all of those domains at the same time is very difficult. because you don't have the time and the energy. You can't go over 100, really. People say giving 200%, but you can't give 200% to all of those things. So I admittedly say, and I am not ashamed of this, I'm not embarrassed to say it, I will say it, I chose my career over being in a personal relationship. And don't get me wrong, I date and I have a significant other. My significant other understands who I am, and that at times I'm working. I have a podcast, I do YouTube from time to time. I have a private practice. I mentor folks as I am a mentee.
Right.
I mentor others. I volunteer. I'm a member of the greatest sorority ever, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Incorporated.
So, I got to give some time to my line sisters and to my chapter and to my sorors. So it's a lot to balance these things, but you just have to be organized. You have to be intentional. You have to take care of yourself. I also like putting myself first as well at times. So, and you also have to know how to say no. Everyone who wants your time and wants of you can't say yes to everything. No is a small word, but it's very powerful. It packs a punch. So at times you just have to say no when you know you can't give of yourself the way that someone wants you to or is requiring you to do so. So I was a superstar earlier in my career with my family, during my education, during the earlier parts of my career. And once my son got to a certain age, I was like, boom, okay, let me just go all the way in.
Yeah,
I'm all in. So right now it's about career. When I was a little girl, I told myself I wanted to be retired by the time I was 50. I wanted to be able to have enough, money and different things in my portfolio to where if I wanted to, I could stop working at age 50. And when you think about it, it's a matter of what is important to you. Some people can't retire now or at 50 or earlier than 65 because of the way they spend their money. But if you pick and choose what's important and you pick and choose to save as opposed to always spending on the next best thing, it really is possible. And people who might be listening or may listen later, I want you to consider this because the life expectancy rate is 73, 74 for men, for women. Women typically live longer. If you wait until you're 65 or you work until you're 70 to retire, you may only have a good 10 years left to live and enjoy your life without having to be somewhere or having a lot of these obligations. And don't get me wrong, some people enjoy working. If you love what you do and this is what you want to do,
it's not a job. Yeah.
Until you take your last breath, kudos to you. That's cool.
But I've seen that literally happen where somebody, works their butt off and very good at whatever it is they did, but they work their butt off till they're 60, 70 years old, 72 years old. They retire in 2 years, they're gone. Right. And whether it's coincidental or the fact that, hey, look, they had nothing else to get up in the morning to do anymore, I don't know. But I have watched that happen over and over again where you say to yourself, well, hell, he just retired and passed away. I think that everything travels in seasons. And you talked a lot about that. Things travel in a season, and you have to kind of recognize what those seasons are so that you can I guess, focus and do the best job that you possibly can in those seasons. Another thing that I picked up from you that I want to kind of reiterate again is a lot of small business people, especially business people that are connected to the community, they have a very difficult time saying no. I just want to reiterate something that you just said. You have to be able to say no. Graciously, no, but you have to be able to allocate your time to the point in time when you can do the best possible thing with your time and not necessarily just spreading yourself all over the place. So I know you just said that in a very eloquent way, but I wanted to say it again because I want people to hear that. Sometimes you absolutely have to say, I'd love to, but I can't. I just don't have the time. I just don't have the bandwidth. Maybe next year, put it on my calendar, might be able to do it next year. I just can't do it this year. Now, you mentioned a little while, in the onset, talking about your dad was in the military, and that's one of the reasons why you felt like that was something that you wanted to consider. But why did you actually join the Army? And talk to me about how you use those skills to transfer into your civilian life.
Yeah. So So I had a scholarship to go to college through the military, but I was afraid
Hmm.
that the military would force me to start sooner than later. I wanted to go to medical school right after college, so that's why I didn't join. That's why I didn't take the scholarship for college, because I wanted to be able to go to med school, no strings attached.
Okay.
Um, 9/11 happened when I was a second year medical student. And when 9/11 happened, the Army looked at their assets and said, we don't have enough doctors. So they created a program that they would provide us a stipend, money, if you're in your residency, because after med school, to become a specialist, you have to train in your specialty. It's called a residency. For
Sure.
psychiatry and neurology, is 4 years. And I was talking to a recruiter, a Black woman. She was a Black woman recruiter. She came to my medical school, and we talked and talked and talked. And I was like, okay, this is a program for me, because she told me, surely, you will be deployed. You're going into psychiatry. They need psychiatrists downrange. You will have to deploy. But they made it so that deployments would be 90 days per physician. So I thought, okay, 3 months is not bad. I took a job, as I was saying, with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So I was already going to have a federal position. So it was
Hmm.
kind of like double dipping. Everything I do it because there's a reason behind it. And oftentimes it's a financial reason. So let me back up. In medical school, I had a scholarship. So I wasn't paying for medical school, but I took out loans just to be able to do certain things, to enjoy certain stuff in life, to be able to have a
Sure.
reset.
Sure.
And so I had to pay back that loan by working in an underserved area. The Bureau of Prisons was considered an underserved area. That's number one. The other thing was, by working for the Bureau, I knew if I was there for 4 years, I would be vested. And then it's 5 years depending for certain things in terms of retirement.
Okay.
So everything I do, I did intentionally to create my time after working, when I stopped working full time, to be able to have things in place so that I would have money, I would have pensions, I would have funding. So the Bureau of Prisons has a 401k.
Hmm.
The military, I did not have to, they paid me a stipend while I was in residency. So, and that was time going towards my retirement with the military. They also paid up to $250,000 in loan repayment. So to me, that was a strong financial incentive. That, along with the
Absolutely.
fact that it's another retirement. I didn't know if I would stay in 20 years or not, but 2023 will be 20 years that I have in the Army Reserve. And the Army also gave me something for veterans where you can purchase your first home. So I purchased my first house while I was in residency, and I've been acquiring real estate since then. So besides my private practice, I also, on the low, purchase homes, flip them, sell them. I
Hmm.
also have homes that I rent out to folks. So that's another part of my portfolio. We're talking the business of Black business. That
Right.
is
Exactly.
important. You have to have income coming from different streams. The
Multiple revenue streams.
multiple, and a lot of those
Multiple.
streams should be passive, because, as I said, you don't have time or the
Yeah.
energy or the emotional bag to be a superstar in every realm. So some of those income streams need to be passive. The other reason why I joined the military is because they offered what was called a 9/11 bill. And because I'd gone to school so much, I already had, my college, my undergraduate degree. I had a master's that I got during residency, my medical degree. I didn't need any more schooling, so I transferred it to my son. So
Okay.
my son has gone to undergraduate school pretty much free on the military's dime, as well as he earned an MBA from FSU that was paid for by the military.
Wow.
So there are certain things that I was able to get ahead of financially because of being a member of the Army Reserve. No student loans or student loans that they paid back, getting my first home, having my first house built in Maryland, sending my son to school pretty much free.
Hmm.
Um, and also acquiring another retirement. So, there's two pensions there, through the military, one through the Bureau of Prisons, and they both have TSP or 401ks. And so that was a part of my building or creating a legacy for my son. So I have things to pass on to him, but also so that if I choose to, I can stop working at a certain age. And for me, it's
I
50.
gotta tell you, you literally could do a podcast. If you haven't done that, I'm sure you have already, but because it's such low hanging fruit, right? But
Yeah.
if you haven't done a podcast specifically about that, that is an excellent topic that I think that you should take one of your podcasts and explore. And maybe I might try to see if I could find a way to do that as well, because there's so much opportunity, so much money, so many programs that we are not taking advantage of, right? We're literally not taking advantage
Listen,
of.
I am a government baby for real,
Yeah.
because
So how many people you know that have student loans for $250,000 that are physicians
a
when they
lot of
when
my
they didn't
friends,
necessarily have to? You know what I'm saying? Don't
yeah,
necessarily have to.
right. A lot
Um,
of them, but at the same time, a lot of them have worked diligently to pay them off, because most of the time doctors don't want debt. They've
yeah,
been very responsible in, when we came out of residency, paying off their student loans. Most of them are debt free now. They paid them back. That's all they did. Like the first 5-10 years out of residency was pay off their student loans.
yeah. Well, I own a staffing firm, so part of our practice at one point in time was placing physicians and allied health
Mm.
professionals. And I got to tell you, 90% of them that we were recruiting and placing had some kind of serious, student debt. To the
Yeah,
point in time when they weren't able to make decisions that would make them happy because
because of
of
that debt.
the student debt was a
Yeah,
priority for them.
yeah.
Hey, you've been really successful, but tell me about sometimes when you encountered adversity. Tell me some of the things that happened to you along the way that basically you had to figure your way out of to get to a point in time when you arrived at, let's call it a winning result.
Whew. You know, Nothing easily comes to mind for me, because
Never, never, never,
it's,
never.
the
Come
thing is,
on.
I'm trying to recall. The thing is, with me, I see challenges as a way to learn. So they're not really
Sure.
challenges. Like, I embrace them. I would say the first thing that comes to mind is when I was a medical student, I was rotating at Walter Reed Army Hospital. And there was a white surgeon who, he yelled at me, and he was kind of derogatory. It was myself and all the other students were white students. And so, he snapped for no reason at all. There was nothing I hadn't done anything. So this is the first thing that comes to mind for me. So what I did is I let him rant or do his little thing. When it was over, I saw him in the hallway. I said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." So I didn't embarrass him in front of the group. I pulled him into an office where it was just the two of us. I said, "You will never, ever speak to me like that ever again in your life." I did not appreciate it. So one thing about me is I'm very forthcoming, and I speak my mind. I express myself, and I have this brain love acronym. And at the end of that, the E stands for express yourself. I don't go to bed at night wishing I woulda, coulda, shoulda, because typically I'm going to say what needs to be said during the day, or I create a plan and how I will address the issue the next day. One other thing that comes to mind for me was in college. One of my professors, I went to an all-girls college called College of Notre Dame. It was a Catholic school. It was a PWI. It was
Hmm.
a few Black girls there, women of color. And I had a professor who was trying to tell me, "No, don't go to medical school. You don't need to be a doctor. Go to physical therapy school. Go and be a nurse."
Something easy, right?
Right.
Something that you could do.
But yeah, and
Yeah,
and so I guess in her eyes that would be easier for me. But
sure.
when you tell me no, or you set a limit for me, I'm going to exceed it. I'm going to show you that I can do this. So she actually just motivated me, but she tried to break me. As she did a lot of the students, because she taught entry biology or whatever, biology 101, freshman biology. And a lot of students who went to college wanting to go to medical school changed the course of their lives because of this woman's class,
Wow.
because they couldn't
Wow.
pass her biology class. She made it difficult. And I remember sitting at the table with my mother one night. I lived on campus that first year, but I was studying, and I told her, like, this woman is so difficult. Her class is so hard. My mom was like, "You got to find a way to pass her class. You will pass her class." And I did pass the class. I believe I got an A in her class. But it's
Mhm.
things like that that are unnecessary that Black folks have to deal with. Again, we're talking about the business of Black business. To get where you
Right,
are, all of us have to overcome obstacles,
right,
oftentimes that include microaggressions, macroaggressions, people not wanting to see us do well or succeed. So a lot of the things that I was challenged by were things that were challenges that I didn't bring on myself. These were challenges because of the way I look, because of the color of my skin. And so those are the two things that come to mind for me. Everything else to me is is for the course.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what life is about. Life is about challenges. If something doesn't work, you figure it out and you do it a different way and you keep it moving.
Let me ask you this about business. Have you ever tried to launch anything specifically in business that you said to yourself, hey, look, this sounds like a good idea. I think that I can build the infrastructure for it. I can finance it. I can do all of those things. And it just didn't turn out the way you expected to. Give me an example of that. I mean, you have so many different, you have so many irons in the fire. You've done so many things that I'm certain, because I know I have, I've tried to launch something that didn't necessarily work. Give me an example of that.
I would say some of the things that I try to do on the side, like my YouTube channel, my podcast is doing very well, but the YouTube channel, it's one of those things where you have to figure out the algorithms on
Oh,
social
sure.
media, and I just don't have the time to crack the code, if you will.
You just need to have somebody to do that. That's one of those superstar things that you don't necessarily need to do.
Yeah, this is true. But the thing is, the way I see it, if one person watches a video or 200 or 300 views, to me, that's successful as it would be for someone who's getting 3 million views, because I just want one person to see it and to learn something. So it doesn't have to be, I'm not fulfilled by, several thousand likes and a million comments. That's not fulfilling to me. What's fulfilling is when I landed in Los Angeles, yesterday, I had a guy, I'm at the airport, and he goes, "Oh my God, Dr. Delvena, I watched your video on such and such, and I saw what you said about blah, blah, blah." So for me, that's
Wow,
fulfilling.
that's huge.
Someone, the emails that I get from people because they saw something and it spoke to them and it helped them to do something different in their life. So to answer your question, I would say it's kind of the media stuff. And also we started a medical spa. The spa opened. It's been open, but it's something that we only use for our own patients. It's a service available to them if they want to pursue it. And if not, we're not really promoting it to the community. But if there was something that I could tweak and make better, it would be for that spa to gross as much money as our main practice is grossing.
Tell me about your practice. Tell me what makes your practice unique? Why you guys? What makes you guys special? Why should a person considering those types of services choose you?
Well, we're a practice of all people of color, the administrative staff, the clinical staff, and everyone. If someone is on my team or in my circle, best believe they reflect a lot of the practices that I preach. And so, it's unique in that we take care of patients. Primarily, we're not shy about saying we're a practice for people of color. We have veterans who are on our staff. We provide a lot of education. We don't just medicate. When you have a session with one of our providers, you'll be able to talk. You'll be able to express yourself. You won't just come in and get a script in 15 minutes and be out. Or if it's virtual, you won't just get on with us for 15 minutes and then the session is over with. We want to know how you're doing in all realms of your life. Right. We want to piece together your story. We want to get to know you. We want to become acquainted with you. So education is big in our practice. And so what I'm holding up are 2 pamphlets that I created to talk about different subjects or topics in mental health. One is brain food. Being able to eat for your brain. Did you know that how you eat and what you don't eat, it can affect your mood. It can affect how you behave and how you interact with other people. Brain sleep. This is a common problem in America. People are not sleeping. So it's a lot of education. We don't just treat. That's the problem in America, is that we're looking for a treatment for everything, but we're not doing more of the preventative part. We got to do more in prevention, more in the area of education. The last thing I would say that makes it unique is that every person who's on my team, they're all entrepreneurs. They all have their own businesses.
How about that? Really? So everybody that's in your practice has a practice, and you guys decided to collaborate to be stronger together, is what I always like to say.
Well,
is that the thought process in that, or is it different?
That's not how it came together. So some of them already have businesses. Others, I told them, hey, you need to create a business. You need an LLC. You need a
Got you.
PLLC.
Okay, I
I
got you.
encouraged them to get, an EIN, create their business.
I
And so
understand.
they could, So
Yeah.
it wasn't, we got together. I created my practice back in 2013. And along the way, I would meet people, or I would meet them in the hospital or out in the community, and they would express an interest in learning more about mental health or being a part of what I was doing. And I would bring them on board and also help them in whatever they're doing. So whatever the other clinicians need, if they have questions about things in terms of their careers and their businesses, I'm available to them to help mentor them, as I was mentored as well.
Wow, that is absolutely very cool. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, last things that I wanted to talk about, is that your commitment to the community is legendary. A lot of everybody knows who you are, right?
Oh, you said legendary. I don't know.
Legendary, legendary. I don't just throw those kind of accolades out, willy nilly. I believe it. What makes that important for you? Why did you decide to be the tip of the spear as it relates to mental health in the Black community?
I told you my parents were from Mississippi.
I'm from Louisiana. I get you. I get it.
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, the inability to manage and maintain families and believe in love.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that I believe are unique to the Black community that is a result of slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights issues. So people may not make that connection, but I do. And so it was
You weren't
important.
from the Delta. You weren't from the Mississippi Delta area. Where were you from?
Jonestown. No, Jonestown and Clarksdale.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So those were poor little areas in Mississippi that just were extremely poor. Some of my family are still there. A lot of them migrated to Chicago. So it was important to me because I knew what I saw in my environment, the lack of mental health awareness that we had in my family, amongst my family members. And then once, I went to medical school and I started getting out there and treating patients, I realized too that it's missing from most Black communities. And I realized how high the stigma was amongst Black folks. So before mental health and wellness was trending, it was trending for me. So it's become trendy, especially during COVID-19. But this is something that I've always been preaching because I want people to feel happy. Like there's so much to life. There's so much joy to be had. You don't have to be sad. You don't have to be angry every day. If they knew what I know, they would be able to balance and find joy in whatever it is they're doing. We all know that challenge and tribulations, they will come. They always come. But these are things that we can use to redirect our thoughts, that can make us stronger, that can make us better than what we are. And so I just want people to feel happy and content like I do, because it's amazing. It's not meant to be forever. Of course, we depending on what you believe in, we transition and we go to something else that's even better. But your time on earth does not have to be in despair. And that's what I wanted to teach people.
Right. That is actually infectious. Your attitude about it is infectious. The passion that you talk about it is infectious. So I really appreciate that. I can't let you go yet. I'm enjoying this conversation. So I got a couple of more things I got to ask you,
Sure.
Dr. Delvena. What advice would you give to someone looking to do what you do? You're very specific, highly trained physician. What advice would you give somebody looking to do exactly what you do?
Just know, my mother used to always tell me, you have to crawl before you can walk. And so I didn't just land where I am now. It took a lot of planning, a lot of being intentional, a lot of being organized and reading and listening to other folks and talking to other people. And listening. Some people are not good listeners. They always want to do all the talking. I do a lot of listening. I'm a talker too, but I also do a lot of listening and knowing that you need a mentor. We all need mentors. I've had different mentors at different phases of my life, but we all need a mentor. And so people who, and this is something that happens quite often because of social media and the way information gets spread. People look and see what someone else has and they want what you have, but you haven't put in the time, the work, or the effort to get where I am.
Amen. Amen.
You got to do
Amen.
the work, and you can't ask someone to do something that you yourself wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So in my office, I've cleaned the bathroom. I've,
Yeah.
taken care of the floors. I've done, whatever. You can't ask someone to do something that you yourself wouldn't do. And the other virtue is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So you got to be ready to work hard.
Mhm.
I can confidently say I know I outwork probably 90% of people in my field. No shame. I can
Yeah.
absolutely say that. I know I outwork people. And so that's the thing. You got to be in it you got to have the endurance. You
Right.
have to be in it because this is not a sprint. This is
Mhm.
not just, a 10-second relay. This is a whole course. You got to be able to pace yourself during this course. You got to fuel yourself with the proper things that you need. That means eating right, sleeping right, socializing properly, knowing who to socialize with, who not to. Sometimes we got to cut people off who are in our lives that don't deserve
Absolutely.
to be in our circle.
Toxic folks will take you down every time.
They ain't taking me down, Jay. They are
They
not
will.
taking me
I
down.
promise you, they will try.
They
They will
will
give it their
try it.
best shot. Toxic people will try to take you down every single time. You have to make sure that your inner circle is one that literally has your back. It
Yes,
100% has your back and has your best interest at heart. Versus the people that are
absolutely.
just to the point that you're making. They see what you have and they just want it. They want, yeah, but they're not ready for the grind. The two things
Right.
I want to say that you've said again is that number one, you have to be very intentional. You said this. You have to be very intentional. You have to do what it's going to take you from one level to the next, and that sometimes it's just building blocks.
Hmm.
And the other thing that you said is you got to take care of yourself mentally. You have to sometimes you just have to kind of like exhale, and many Black entrepreneurs don't take the time to do that. And I have been there. I have been the guy, burning a candle on both ends, working 80 hours a week and not taking time to take my kids to a basketball game. I'll never be that man again. I will never be that man again. Um, so anyway, gosh, I could talk to you for another hour, but I can't. uh, Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Delvena Thomas. Dr. Delvena,
Thank you.
2020 Legacy Magazine,
2022.
2022. Thank you very much.
Yep.
2022 Business Person of the Year. I am very proud of you and very proud of your accomplishments. Hang in here with me for 1 second, please,
Sure.
because I have to kind of pay the bills.
Okay.
And, first of all, I want to thank the Mesman and Dover personal injury attorneys. Victor, thank you for everything that you do to both support Black businesses as well as supporting HBCUs. The work that you and your team do is important. Thank you guys for sponsoring our Martin Luther King golf tournament this past week. We raised somewhere in the neighborhood of like $30,000 to be given for scholarships for kids that look like us. Career Source South Florida. Career Source South Florida each and every week publishes somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 new jobs that you can go online right now and apply for. And I like to read a couple of these. There's a team lead creative, $47 an hour. Field marketing manager, $47 an hour. Social worker, $23 an hour. A VP services manager, $22 an hour. A regional recruiter in Miami, remote, $22 an hour. Security guard, $15 an hour. An evening housekeeping supervisor, $14.70 an hour. Customer service specialist, $14 an hour. Electrician, $14 an hour. Server, $10 an hour. The cool thing about this is each and every week, Career Source South Florida posts these jobs. You can go online and find your next opportunity. I also want to thank AARP. They've been a longtime sponsor. Thank you guys for sponsoring us, as well as Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. And finally, a new sponsor, Florida FAMU Medical Marijuana Education and Research Institute. I really appreciate you guys making this important. And last but certainly not least, thanks Legacy Magazine, Victor, Aaliyah. You guys are amazing. Thank you for making this important. This is making a difference, I believe. And Dr. Delvena, you wear a lot of hats. You're a superstar, right? You have a bunch of superstar things that you do. I really appreciate you taking the time to make this important. So again, I know you wear a lot of hats. Thanks very much. I'm going to give you the parting words. Is there anything that you want to tell us, Dr. Delvena, before we hang? Before we sign?
Ooh, okay.
And I'll tell you what, I've never done that before.
Why are you doing it today, Jay?
Because I've enjoyed talking to you. That's all.
That's what's up. Yeah, look, and positive energy knows positive energy. So I think that's what you're feeling. There's a vibe here, and I'm all about that energy. So and people have to be more about their energy, because if they were, they wouldn't allow so many people to be in their inner circle who don't deserve to be there. Yeah. So my last parting words would be this. If it's not right for you, you need to nix it. If it's someone who's causing you stress, that's causing you trials and tribulations, that's making your life harder, even if it's a significant other, even if it's your mama, you got to deal with that issue, and you have to spend less time with that person. If it's a family member, you may not be able to just nix them completely, and I would not encourage you to do so, but push them out to that outer circle, push them all the way out to that outside layer of your outer circle. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to create happiness for yourself. It's no one else's responsibility to make you happy but yours. You gotta have
nobody else
love.
but you.
It's all about you. It's on you. You create your happiness. It's not about your man, your woman, your daddy, your mama. Nobody can create your happiness. You have to do that yourself. And doing that, you got to have brain love. Jay, I don't have time to go through the acronym, but I'll be on this Friday with Dr. Michelle Curran, because of course, Legacy Group created a health show as well. And so I plan to define what brain love means so people can know. But that B stands for balance. So make sure you have balance in your life. However you take that to mean, you must have balance. That's all I have for you. And Jay, thank you very much for this interview. It was great.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate it. And again, I always say, if it is to be, it is up to me. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll do this again. Same time, different day, but the same time each and every Monday at 1 p.m. Again, Legacy Magazine, you guys are the bomb. Thanks a lot. You guys have a great day. Do something special today.